Hikari Tsutsui is an anime enthusiast who lives in the world of 2D girls, yet an encounter with a 3D girl changes his life completely, and he even manages to get a kiss from her as well. The story of Tsutsui begins as a loner high school boy, who only focuses on his studies with a goal to attend college soon. However, one day, he reaches school late and is given a punishment to clean the pool with the most popular yet allegedly hussy girl of the school named Iroha Igarashi, who even calls his bangs gross. During the class, Tsutsui talks with his only friend, Yudo Ito, who is also an otaku but has a timid nature. After classes, Tsutsui goes to the pool, thinking Iroha will most likely bunk on it, but is startled to see her there cleaning the pool. However, she accidentally falls in the pool along with Tsutsui, and he wonders about the reason he got so late from school. After getting out, Iroha's odd behavior surprises him yet again, and he asks her to leave, as he cannot stand 3D girls. Understanding that Tsutsui is a virgin, Iroha politely taunts him and leaves. Some days later, while Tsutsui plays a game with his friend Ito, one of Tsutsui's middle school classmates humiliates him and his friend, which makes Tsutsui angry, and he stands up for his friend, Ito. Yet they don't stop their bickering, making Iroha take Tsutsui's side while she only gives those girls a peace of mind. Iroha's kind behavior causes Tsutsui and Ito to change their remarks about 3D girls, but they still believe that they are out of their league. The next day, Iroha is caught up in a scandal when a boy kisses him and the other even slaps Iroha, thinking that she is cheating on him. Watching this situation from a distance, Tsutsui comes to her rescue and asks her to run away, knowing he doesn't have a chance against that boy who brutally beat up Tsutsui. Iroha waits for Tsutsui to come back to his senses and gives him a kiss on his lips, which ultimately makes him have mixed emotions. The next day, while Ito asks about Tsutsui's injuries, Iroha barges into his classroom to ask out Tsutsui, who rejects her on the face, and she leaves without a single word. Afterward, Ito lectures him on text messages while he coincidentally watches Iroha crying, so he decides to follow her. Without realizing it, Tsutsui ends up in a bookstore with Iroha, who is busy reading a book. However, one of the staff members accuses Iroha of stealing a book, but Tsutsui comes to her rescue and explains that she didn't steal. Tsutsui also hands Iroha his umbrella, which eventually gives him the flu, but he still attends the school, where Iroha kisses him yet again and leaves. Overwhelmed by his feelings, Tsutsui rushes to Iroha to ask her out, and they hug each other, and Iroha suddenly tells him that she will leave the school after a few months. In the classroom, Tsutsui recalls Iroha's words about leaving school after half a year, and thinks about the repercussions of dating. Tsutsui's flow of thought is interrupted when Ito wishes him good luck and Iroha comes running as she wants to go home with Tsutsui. The news about Tsutsui dating Iroha spreads like wildfire, and everyone questions their relationship, as both of them don't have a good reputation, but Iroha defends Tsutsui, making him happy internally. However, on Sunday, when Tsutsui buys his favorite game, he watches Iroha with someone else and thinks if their relationship has any meaning to it. At night, Iroha calls him out to have a talk, but Tsutsui bluntly shares his dislike about Iroha being with other guys. Iroha abruptly takes Tsutsui to a hotel where she tries Tsutsui to understand that she is serious about their relationship. Understanding the situation they are in, Tsutsui asks Iroha to value herself more and leave. The next day, Tsutsui meets up with the person who was with Iroha, a doctor, and asks about the nature of their relationship. The doctor tries to explain, but Tsutsui ends up misunderstanding the situation and leaves before the doctor can further politely criticize him for questioning Iroha's intentions. At school, Tsutsui asks Iroha to leave the doctor, who ultimately lies about being in a relationship with him, thinking Tsutsui will not trust her words. Later in the night, as Tsutsui sulks, his favorite anime character gives him the courage to face the situation head-on. After reaching school, Tsutsui immediately tells Iroha that he will stay with her, and Iroha finally explains the reason she meets the doctor: she has asthma. Later, Tsutsui visits the doctor and apologizes for his rude behavior yesterday, who tells Tsutsui that Iroha's birthday is coming soon. Tsutsui thinks about giving Iroha a gift, while she asks him to visit his home, where Tsutsui's mother and his brother, Kaoru, are in shock to see Tsutsui with a girl, but they decide to support him. Tsutsui also tells Ito about Iroha's birthday, and they decide to make a clay model for her and spend days finalizing it. On the day of Iroha's birthday, Tsutsui takes her to an amusement park during school hours, as per Iroha's demand, and feels overwhelmed by taking different breathtaking rides. After that, they ride a Ferris wheel where Tsutsui gives Iroha her gift, which she loves, and even kisses Tsutsui as well. After a few days, Tsutsui dreams about Iroha, his favorite anime character Azamichi, and Ito, who make him feel like he is avoiding his otaku life and Ito. So, in order to be a good friend, Tsutsui decides to spend more time with Ito, who claims that he doesn't have to be so conscious about it, as he is there to listen to Tsutsui's worries. Meanwhile, Tsutsui also thinks about how much he has changed since he started dating Iroha and reflects that his heart only pounds when Iroha is near him. During that time, a girl falls down in front of him, and when he tries to help her, his heart doesn't pound, confirming his hypothesis. After that, when Iroha tries to talk with Tsutsui, he shakes off her hand due to embarrassment, but it leads to another misunderstanding between them. The girl from earlier, named Ishino, inquires about Tsutsui's weird behavior, and he claims that he doesn't know how to act when a person is in love. Ishino shows off her little performance and gives Tsutsui advice about his bangs, but before she can cut them, Iroha comes barging in and stops her from touching Tsutsui. Finally, Tsutsui acknowledges his wrongdoing, claiming that he doesn't know how to behave in their relationship, and both of them come clean about their worries, hugging each other to put a stop to their fight. Some days later, when Iroha suggests that she admires men who can cook, Tsutsui bakes some cookies for his friends. Iroha also invites Ishino to relish Tsutsui's cookies and apologizes for her rude behavior before. After spending some time with Tsutsui and the others, Ishino becomes their friend and even asks Iroha to not worry about the rumors. Later in the night, Tsutsui thinks about Iroha leaving school soon and worries about what life will be like without Iroha, so he bakes a chocolate cake for her. At school, while everyone enjoys Tsutsui's cake, Ishino's love interest comes in asking for some money. Even though Tsutsui and the others realize that Ishino is being used, they decide to remain silent. Ishino and her so-called lover meet Iroha coincidentally, and Ishino vouches for Iroha to be a good friend, even though the boy insults her. However, the next day, when the boy openly insults Ishino for being easy, Iroha cannot help but throw her bag at the guy, claiming that she only got angry at him, not admitting she cares about Ishino's feelings. Later, Ishino reveals that she broke up with the guy and starts crying, but Tsutsui takes them on the roof where they enjoy all the goodies made by Tsutsui, and their friendship grows even deeper. Later, when Tsutsui waits for Iroha for a lunch date, he internally talks with Ezumichi, who guides him to remain optimistic in life and enjoy the moments of life. Soon, Iroha brings him back to reality and shares that she is facing a problem in her studies and requires his help to improve her grades, which makes Tsutsui comply. At home, while Tsutsui helps Iroha study, he cannot help but observe his lover's different faces and also give in to his desire to hug Iroha while his mother and Kaoru watch them secretly. The next day, Tsutsui receives a love letter and he decides to ignore it due to personal reasons, but Ishino compels him to go. However, Tsutsui realizes that his instinct was right when the person in front of him turns out to be a boy named Mitsuya Takanashi, who is head over heels in love with Iroha and threatens Tsutsui to leave her. Yet when Tsutsui replies in disgust, Mitsuya punches him hard and leaves him there. After that, Tsutsui leaves and thinks about Iroha when a little girl named Anzu's cries startle him. But when he tries to help, her brother Mitsuya comes running, thinking that Tsutsui is a lolicon. Although Tsutsui tries to defend himself, Mitsuya doesn't listen to him and even calls the police on him, claiming that Tsutsui is a pedophile. Mitsuya's stupid mistake causes Tsutsui to pay a heavy price, as not only his mother but the whole school starts branding him as a pedophile. It turns out Mitsuya was behind the act. When Iroha tries to talk with Tsutsui, he asks him to keep herself at a distance for some time, while the memories from junior high also haunt him, even though they were nothing compared to this scenario. Meanwhile, Mitsuya tries to persuade Iroha to date him, but she brutally ignores his proposal and leaves. Elsewhere, Kaoru feels helpless thinking about his brother when Anzu comes running and asks him to tell him what's wrong. At home, Tsutsui calls Iroha in order to break their relationship, but Iroha confesses her love for him and even encourages him, claiming that he is the sweetest person she knows, making Tsutsui feel at ease. The next day, while some students try to tease him, Tsutsui smiles thinking about Iroha's confession. After school, when Iroha leaves the school alone, she gets to know Anzu, who turned out to be Mitsuya's sister. Soon, Mitsuya comes running and Anzu ends up crying, explaining that Tsutsui is Kaoru's brother and she is feeling bad as Kaoru is having a hard time because she yelled. Hearing these words makes Iroha angry and she confronts Mitsuya to apologize to Tsutsui, but he states that won't apologize to him and runs away. The next day, Tsutsui coincidentally meets up with Mitsuya, who is a bit ashamed of his act but asks Tsutsui to man up and face the allegation. Yet when his friends come to get him, he acts cool and leaves. Later, when going home, Ito and Iroha forcefully leave with Tsutsui, who feels grateful for having such good friends. At home, Iroha explains to Tsutsui that she knows about Mitsuya and hugs Tsutsui, claiming that she wants everyone to know about his innocence. However, Tsutsui comes barging in and scolds his older brother for not being cool enough to fend off such rumors, as his pride is also at stake. In order to know about the relationship between Kaoru and Anzu, Iroha questions Kaoru, who reveals that Anzu is a good friend. The next day, as the bullying continues, Mitsuya decides to help Tsutsui somehow, so he asks him to explain to his family, who believe their words, even though Kaoru claims it is still his brother's fault. After that, they also meet up with Ishino, who falls head over heels for Mitsuya, and Iroha chuckles, claiming she doesn't have a sense of good people. After some days, Tsutsui accidentally budges into Ayato Sumi, who is also an anime freak, and feels happy she has a comrade when she watches Tsutsui's magazine. Later, while Tsutsui is finding his magazine, Ayato gives it to him and barges in with 100 questions about anime and related stuff. However, when Ayato sees Iroha, she comes to the conclusion that Tsutsui is a normie and leaves before hearing anything from Tsutsui at all. After that, Iroha invites Tsutsui to the festival, where he comes in a yukata, and both of them enjoy their time playing games and eating different snacks. However, when Tsutsui watches Mitsuya with his sister, he asks Iroha her reason for dating him and claims that she is a much better match for Mitsuya. These words hurt Iroha, and she claims that Tsutsui shouldn't call himself inferior before leaving. The next day, Tsutsui tries his best to find Iroha when he meets up with Ayato and shares his favorite anime, and decides to have a detailed conversation next time. Meanwhile, Ishino feels angry that Tsutsui doesn't introduce her to Mitsuya and gives him flowers as a parting gift. Frustrated, Tsutsui goes out to find Iroha yet again, but the mention of Ayato's name surprises him, as some students talk about her figure. Ayato is also there, but instead of making her feel bad, Tsutsui compliments her and even gifts her the flowers he got from Ishino, who kicks him after watching him give the flower to a random girl. Tsutsui finally finds Iroha, who is studying, but when he tries to apologize, Iroha refuses, claiming that Tsutsui doesn't understand why she is angry. Even though Tsutsui tries his best to make Iroha understand his lack to comprehend human emotions, Iroha claims that Tsutsui doesn't try enough and leaves. After that, Tsutsui meets Ayato, who is busy tending to her garden, and gives some potatoes to Tsutsui as a form of gratitude. Later, Tsutsui decides to take guidance from Ito regarding Iroha, but Ito leaves, thinking Tsutsui might have lunch plans. However, Tsutsui follows Ito and realizes that he is having lunch with a cat. Thinking that it is his fault, Tsutsui apologizes for not being available to Ito, who gets angry at Tsutsui's insensitive behavior and leaves. In the night, depressed Tsutsui thinks about his life as a null void and starts making potato dumplings while he thinks about how he became friends with Ito. It was the first year of high school, and Ito hid his personality from his friends and was entirely a people pleaser. But when they were given a task to go it together, Tsutsui's kindness impressed him. So, when a guy tried to rip Tsutsui magazine, Ito helped him and even told him that he is an otaku just like him. Remembering the past makes Tsutsui realize that he cannot remain cool staying alone. The next day, Tsutsui makes up with Ito, claiming he felt bad that he lost to a cat, and he also tries to resolve the matter with Iroha, but chicken out at the last moment. Later, Tsutsui ends up in front of Iroha's home with potato dumplings, and before he can run away from embarrassment, Iroha opens the door to invite him in. Being in a girl's room for the first time, a hidden pervert inside of Tsutsui wakes up and he starts smelling Iroha's bed, who comes in with snacks. After that, Iroha explains that she was angry, thinking that Tsutsui doesn't trust her, but by realizing how much effort he is putting in, she came to the conclusion that Tsutsui loves her in his own way. Finally grasping his own mistake, Tsutsui hugs Iroha and his feelings get the best of him, which makes him run away, thinking he might hurt her yet again. At school, Tsutsui keeps on avoiding Iroha while he goes out to give potato dumplings to Ayato, who appreciates the kind gesture. However, their conversation is heard by Iroha, who feels that something is wrong, and she hugs Ishino out of the blue. On the rooftop, Ishino feels happy being a listening ear to Iroha, who reluctantly tells about the whole situation with Ayata. After listening to her explanation, Ishino asserts that Iroha should be more honest with Tsutsui, claiming that he will listen to her worries without a doubt. Yet Iroha feels hesitant, as she has never asked someone to do anything for a personal reason and contemplates talking with Tsutsui. However, she gathers all her courage and confronts her boyfriend, who tries to explain his friendship with Ayato, but Iroha runs away due to embarrassment. After that, Iroha watches as some girls bully Ayata and feel that she was being harsh on Tsutsui for nothing. Meanwhile, at Izumichi's proposal, Tsutsui decides to have a chat with Iroha, who is outside waiting for him. In the park, Iroha explains herself, while Tsutsui also suggests that they should be honest with each other, stating that he is not good at understanding human emotions, yet he still wants their relationship to grow. The next day, while Ishino confronts puppy Tsutsui, Ayato comes to meet them and calls Ishino pretty. Hearing these words, Ishino changes her stance about her in a second, although Ito remains unwilling to meet the new girl. After that, Tsutsui makes tomato jam and his group calls out to Ayato to taste it, which makes her feel wanted for the first time in her life. Watching Tsutsui surrounded by such warm-hearted people, Ayato cannot help but cry, appreciating she was able to meet such nice people. One day, when Tsutsui comes across Ayato in her garden, he touches her hair, and a sudden doki doki makes Ayato realize her true feelings for him. On the weekend, Tsutsui goes out with Ito to buy some clothes, where they accidentally meet up with Mitsuya and ask for his suggestion regarding fashion. Hiding in a scarf, Mitsuya helps Tsutsui and Ito with their shopping while they coincidentally stumble upon Ayato in a maid costume, which makes Ito blush. However, when some thugs try to drag away Ayato for some fun, Tsutsui comes in between them and narrates maid cafe rules and regulations, making them run away. After that, while Tsutsui and Ito walk back home, Tsutsui calls Iroha to meet up and they feel content to enjoy each other's company. The next day, Ishino shares some pamphlets about her grandpa's camp house and asks Tsutsui and his friends to come along, even though Tsutsui refuses, suggesting Ishino is using them to clean up her grandpa's cottage. The look on Iroha and Ito's face finalizes their plans without a second thought. At the camping site, Tsutsui remembers his old camping experience in middle school while Ishino throws him into the lake. At the cottage, everyone indulges themselves in cleaning it along with Ayato, while Mitsuya is grumpy to be a part of this trip. After all the cleaning, everyone gathers around and divides their duties to make lunch. Ito appreciates Ayato's skill to peel potatoes while Ishino tries to flirt with Mitsuya, who bluntly claims that he doesn't like her at all. At the lunch table, Ayato and the others feel emotional for their first camping trip, while Ishino and Mitsuya are unable to understand their emotions. After that, while Iroha cleans up dishes, Mitsuya comes to help her, but Iroha politely tells him that she still hates hurting Tsutsui. Soon they gather to go fishing, where Ayato's fishing skills yet again impresses Ito, and he cannot help but look at her, while Ishino accidentally budges into Ayato and throws her into the river. Afterward, as everyone scolds Ishino for her stupidity, Ito realizes his feelings for Ayato and decides to confide in with Tsutsui later. In the cottage, Tsutsui finally understands the meaning of camping and goes into the kitchen to make some sweets. But a sudden accident catches the attention of everyone and they come running to the kitchen. It turns out Ayato's hand got burned and Tsutsui is helping her, yet a guilty look on her face makes Iroha comprehend Ayato's feelings for Tsutsui. Both Ito and Iroha go out to relax, thinking about Ayato's feelings, while Ishino comes out to cheer them up. Afterward, they decide to play cards when Ayato starts feeling a bit feverish and asks them to retire for the day. In her room, Ayato shows her gratitude towards Iroha's kindness and also comes clean about her feelings for Tsutsui, which makes Iroha leave the room quietly. Outside, she comes across Tsutsui, who is going to check up on Ayato, but Iroha's crying leaves him dumbfounded. Yet when he tries to talk with Iroha, she runs outside and Ishino cannot help but kick him twice so that he looks out for Iroha. As the weather feels cold, everyone worries for Iroha, while they also point out Tsutsui being useless in understanding his own girlfriend. With flashlights, Tsutsui and Ishino go out to find Iroha, and Tsutsui swears that he is doing everything in his power to understand Iroha's feelings, even though he knows that he is dense. Meanwhile, at the cottage, Ayato informs Ito and Mitsuya about her confession and asserts that it was her fault that Iroha ran away. Mitsuya takes this chance to further degrade Ayato, but Ito stops him. In the meantime, Tsutsui worries about Iroha, who is sitting contemplating her own choices. After much effort, Tsutsui manages to find Iroha and apologizes for not understanding why Iroha is angry at him, while Ishino asks them to come inside. When they reach the cottage, they lie that Iroha was only collecting wild vegetables, but Ayato's condition worsens and she decides to leave in the morning. In the meantime, Iroha tries to explain that she doesn't like Tsutsui's kindness toward others and leaves before clarifying further. Mitsuya and Ishino talk about the tension in the air, while Ishino asks Mitsuya to date him, who rejects her yet again. Tsutsui comes rushing in and asks his friend's opinion about Iroha's complaint, yet not understanding it at all. The next day, Ayato leaves the camp with Ito, who decides to accompany her, and Ayato shares her resolve to confess her feelings to Tsutsui with the determination to move forward. Meanwhile, on another train, Tsutsui dreams about a memory when his classmates appreciated him for his drawing skills. However, when he became a middle school student, the same people started avoiding him for the same skill set. At night, Tsutsui reinforces his resolve to confess his feelings to Iroha at school, but when he tries to convey his feelings, the words don't come out, and a sudden message from Ayato helps him escape the situation. In the garden, Ayato musters up the courage and acknowledges that Iroha is angry because she likes senpai. At first, Tsutsui thinks that Ayato is talking about Iroha, but when she informs him that she is talking about him, Tsutsui immediately shuts down and runs away without replying. Soon Ito finds Tsutsui depressed in a corner reimbursing old memories, and when he asks about Ayato's confession, Tsutsui informs him that he ran away, which makes Ito annoyed as Tsutsui doesn't regard other people's feelings at all. The next day, Tsutsui asks Ishino to punch him and she knocks him off without a second thought. Tsutsui then explains his feelings for not understanding Iroha and clarifies his resolve to handle the situation like a man, which makes Ishino pat him. Elsewhere, Mitsuya takes the duty to make Iroha feel better and calls Tsutsui a bad person who only thinks about himself and doesn't have a clue about other people's emotions. However, Iroha negates his remarks, stating that he isn't such a person, making Mitsuya claim that Iroha shouldn't worry about Tsutsui, as he will always come back running to her. In the meantime, Tsutsui sends a text to Ayato for a meetup, while he also compliments Ayato for her confidence to confess. Azamichi advises Tsutsui to be honest with Ayato, even though it was his first confession, as giving her a proper reply will help her move on, and she also hits Tsutsui for being stupid. In the morning, Tsutsui faces Ayato with Iroha standing behind a bush to listen to their conversation as Tsutsui messaged her to come. Tsutsui gathers all his courage and tells Ayato his heartfelt feelings about Iroha, who made him see a whole new world when she became part of his life. He brings Iroha in front of Ayato and claims that he wants to savor each and every moment with her, while he also confesses his feelings for Iroha for the very first time. Ayato accepts Tsutsui's answer and the duo leaves Ayato alone. Sitting beneath a tree, Tsutsui yet again confesses his love to Iroha, and they share an intimate moment together. Meanwhile, Ito meets up with Ayato, who finally starts crying, but Ito decides to stay with her until the end. From a window, some girls make fun of Ayato and Ito, but Ishino hits them and they run away. Mitsuya also appears out of the blue to check up on Ayato and ask Ishino about the details, who yet again confesses and Mitsuya rejects her. Along the way toward home, Tsutsui watches Ito, waiting for him to inform Tsutsui that he is also in love with someone, which ultimately surprises Tsutsui a lot. However, when he asks about the identity of the girl, Ito doesn't disclose it. Ito stays the night at Tsutsui's house, where Kaoru is happy to have him, while Tsutsui doesn't get the time to talk with him. Elsewhere, Iroha shares her story, stating as she had a pretty face. A lot of people confessed to her, but whenever she asked them the reason, they couldn't provide her. So, Iroha always felt alone, and a sudden doctor visit changed her life forever, spending time with multiple men. Tsutsui's voice brings Iroha back to reality, who are enjoying their sound date. However, they meet up with Kaoru and his girlfriend Anzu, who seems to be having a good time as well. After that, they randomly plan their date and visit karaoke and bowling. While bawling, Iroha accidentally chips her nail, which makes Tsutsui bring her a nail cutter. Tsutsui cuts Iroha's nails, making her feel like a princess, as she was never created nicely by others before. After cutting Iroha's nails, Tsutsui kisses her forehead, thinking he only has 3 more months with her, so he will cherish them wholeheartedly. After some days, Ito shares tickets to their favorite anime with Tsutsui, who refuses as he has to visit the cemetery, and asks Ito to request Ayato as she loves this anime too. Sooner rather than later, Ito shares the ticket with Ayato, who agrees to go with him. It makes Ito happy and he watches Ayato from a distance. This is seen by Tsutsui, who realizes that Ito might have feelings for Ayato. After that, while Tsutsui and Iroha go home together, Tsutsui is lost in thought about his friend and ignores Iroha's talk about the date, which makes her a little angry. Meanwhile, Ishino watches the couple from a distance and feels lonely for not having a boyfriend. However, when her ex asks her on a date, she complies and becomes the prettiest girl of all. Elsewhere, Ito also waits for her crush to arrive, who reaches just in time to have a blast. Meanwhile, Ishino's date doesn't arrive and she decides to go home when Mitsuya appears out of the blue and takes her out to eat ramen. In short, both parties manage to enjoy their day to the fullest. The next day, in school, Ayato comes to meet with Ito but ends up suggesting that they also take Tsutsui for the next movie, which makes Ito all gloomy, but he remains quiet. Later in the night, Tsutsui thinks of a plan to close the gap between Ayato and Ito and decides to take them on a picnic. All of them arrive at the picnic point when Tsutsui takes Iroha at a distance to give Ayato and Ito some time to talk. Iroha quickly understands the situation and asks Tsutsui to stop this charade, as it will not only affect their friendship, but will also ruin the relationship between Ayato and Ito. Recognizing his mistake, Tsutsui comes back to Iroha, and they enjoy their time playing badminton. After the picnic, Tsutsui directly asks Ito about the person he likes, and he informs him that it is Ayato, and criticizes Tsutsui for being oblivious yet again, as these feelings also hurt him, and runs away. Tsutsui remembers Ito's words claiming that he doesn't like 3D girls and rushes towards him to hug, finally grasping Ito's true feelings that love is also painful. After that, when Tsutsui and Iroha walk home, Tsutsui shares the whole situation with Ito and shows his resolve to support him until he can get to Ayato's heart. However, all of a sudden, a person named Chika stops them and punches Tsutsui, who falls to the ground, breaking his glasses. While Tsutsui contemplates who Chika is, Iroha tells him that Chika is her younger brother who was studying abroad. Chika questions Iroha's relationship with Tsutsui, and she states that Tsutsui is her boyfriend, which further infuriates Chika, and he takes away Iroha. At home, Chika yet again raises the question about Tsutsui being Iroha's boyfriend and informs her that he came back as he was worried about her. The next day, Chika comes to Tsutsui's school to meet with him when he sees he is wearing the same broken glasses. When Tsutsui explains that these were given to him by his grandma, Chika takes them and gets them fixed. Afterward, they have a serious conversation pertaining to Tsutsui and Iroha's relationship, when Chika states that they are from a wealthy family and Tsutsui isn't capable of treating his sister right. This revelation makes Tsutsui uncomfortable, yet decides to be the man Iroha can be proud of. At school, Ito hides from Ayato while she is working, as he wants to ask her out for an otaku activity. But when they talk, Ito cannot help but feel that their relationship is not deep enough for him to ask Ayato to tag along, which makes him sad. Later, Tsutsui gives a call to Ishino to ask her opinion about his relationship, and Ishino suggests that gifting something thoughtful like a ring can help their relationship become stronger. Ishino also offers Tsutsui a job at an amusement park where he has to wear a bear costume. Wearing that costume, Tsutsui feels tremendous joy when some of the kids ask him to be in their photograph. Afterward, when Iroha tries to walk home with Tsutsui, he states that he will remain busy for some time, so he won't be available for a walk home. After some days of watching Tsutsui tired, Iroha thinks about what he has been doing for the past these days and sleeps at his desk. Later, when Iroha comes home early, Chika asks about Tsutsui's whereabouts, and she states that he is busy these days. However, Chika discloses that he met him some days ago with a threat that he should leave Iroha, which makes her agitated as she asks Chika to remain within his limits. Yet Chika approaches her, stating that he is not her real brother, so she should keep this in mind. At school, while Ito thinks about his life choices as a people pleaser, a ball hits his face and he ends up in the infirmary. Iroha comes running to ask for him when he claims that his life has changed a lot ever since he met Tsutsui, and he also regards Iroha as one of his closest friends, which makes both of them happy. After that, the agitated Iroha confronts Tsutsui, who shows her the ring he bought specially for her. Tsutsui puts the ring on her finger and confesses that he will never break up with Iroha. Multiple emotions hit them at the same time, and they hug each other and savor this moment. Afterward, all of the friends gather to treat themselves to ramen and enjoy each other's company. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, do give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.